Hey guys, Bartel's Bookshelf here. I know it's been a while, I'm sorry about that. I just have moments where I just disappear for a little while. I had a little bit of like a depressive episode after the end of Halloween, just from general, end of Halloween, sad, morose times. And, I always tend to kind of get a little overwhelmed once the end of the year comes around and, the holiday season starts rolling in. And on top of that, I've been in a really bad reading slump for the last month. I've read barely anything. In fact, in the last month, which I'm going to be talking about today, I've only read 3 books, and most of them were very short. I'm in a really bad slump. I'm trying to get out of it. We'll see how it goes, so I apologize if I don't post as regularly, and I apologize if I seem really sort of like off the... I'm even more off the cuff than usual, so I apologize if I seem really like... if I'm not explaining things well or anything like that. Halloween was fun, I had a good time, got to hang out with friends, watch some spooky things. I didn't get to read as much as I would have liked, obviously, but I did read a few things. And that basically comprises these last 3 books, so I'll talk about those. The first book was something that I read on Kindle. It was called Taken by Beasts by Sadie Sins. You can probably guess what this was about. It says on the bottom, a bunch of erotic stories for Halloween, so I thought it might be kind of fun and entertaining to read for Halloween, just something, kind of light and silly. Halloween-y, a little creepy and spooky. A little sexy, yeah, this was okay. It's like 5 or 6 stories that are basically just involve boys getting taken by beasts on Halloween, with different scenarios. It's not great, the writing. It feels very, like, substandard fanfiction quality, like, tenses change constantly, it's full of grammatical errors, like, characters just kind of do things because it's necessitated by the plot. But it's smut, what do you expect? And I was in a headspace where I was just, like, I was just in the mood to read something short and dumb and sexy, And these were that, my favorite story was the first one, which was about this guy who finds this cat on the side of a road during Halloween. It turns out to be a witch's familiar who can take human form, and they have a little adventure together, and stuff happens. That was a fun one. There's another one about a guy who he's like a sorcerer, and he visits another sorcerer's house on Halloween for like a Halloween party, and it turns out the sorcerer has some monsters in his attic or his basement or whatever, I can't remember. And they would like to say hello to the other sorcerer, and they do. So yeah, not a whole lot to say about this one. I read it for free on Kindle Unlimited, so I really can't complain. But it's obviously not literature or anything like that. But for what it was, just for being some fun, fast-paced, kind of sexy Halloween-y stories, they were fine. They fit the bill. They did what they set out to do. I would like to read more stuff like this that's more competent in terms of the prose and the story and everything, but, it is what it is. A lot of people who read this stuff don't come to read it for, scintillating prose or anything like that, but anyway. And yeah, like I said, it was about that time I went, the slump kind of hit full force, and I could not focus on anything. So I thought, I'll try something short, just a little middle grade children's novel. I got this for like $0.25 at the library. This is My Brother the Werewolf by Nancy Garden. One guess as to why I was interested in this one. If you don't know, I know I never talk about it, but I like werewolves. I know, that's a very little known fact about me. But yeah, I saw this on sale at the library for like 25 cents, so I was like, all right, I always enjoy a good bit of children's horror, like middle grade, 90s. I mean, I'm a Goosebumps kid. I grew up on that stuff, so I always have a soft spot for that kind of thing. And again, this was just okay. It wasn't great. It was an interesting plot. It's about this kid, it says in the title. It's about this girl and her brother who are staying at their aunt and uncle's house. They live on like a farm, and the brother has like developed this like formula, this salve that you can see right there that turns him into a werewolf once he like utters like this magic spell, and he has like wolf hair like around his neck or something. you know, typical, like, medieval werewolf-y stuff. And yeah, he becomes a werewolf, and he starts, like, killing all the chickens nearby and stuff, and so then all the other people in the area start, you know, kind of trying to go after this mysterious animal, but his sister and her cousin figure out that it's her brother, so they have to figure out how to rescue him. Again, it was alright. It wasn't anything special. The writing wasn't, you know, it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't outstanding. The plot was kind of generic. The one thing I liked best was there's several bits in the story that are written from the perspective of the brother when he's in wolf form, and the way that she sort of describes, like, the what are you doing, Woody? I don't know if Woody wants attention or if he's just being a shithead. Anyway. So yeah, there's a lot of chapters that are written from the perspective of the werewolf, and I thought those were pretty decent with how they kind of got into that mindset of, like, hunger and power and fear of people and all that stuff. That was okay. The main thing that didn't work for me was that, like, there really wasn't much of a story beyond that, beyond just, you know, our brother's a werewolf, how do we stop it? Like, they find out how he's becoming a werewolf and stuff, and, you know, like, how he's, like, found this, he like, found this recipe in this old book, and he was able to use that to, you know, make the salve and do the ritual and stuff. But they don't really go into why he wanted to do that in the first place. Like, they don't talk about, you know, what was he, like, being bullied? Like, was he just having trouble? Was he feeling bad? Like, was he going through some stuff? Like, no, not really. At the end of the... I mean, I guess this is a spoiler, but come on, who cares? At the end of the book, they ask him, you know, they're like, oh, like, why did you do it? And he's just like, I just wanted to be special like you guys, or whatever. And, like, that's all we really learn about it. They don't really develop the brother as a character, despite the fact that the title's named after him and he's on the cover. It's really more about the sister, but I thought the brother was more interesting. I wanted to know, like, why did he decide to do this? Like, how did it feel to be a werewolf? Like, what drew him to it? One of the other things that was kind of interesting was that it's very old-fashioned in its werewolf lore. So like, it has stuff like, you know, werewolves in this book are, like, afraid of, like, running water and stuff like that, which is really interesting because that's, like, very old lore, like, connecting back to, like, vampires and, like, Eastern Europe and stuff like that. So I thought that was kind of interesting. One of the things that I did find interesting was that the author, Nancy Garden, I looked her up as I usually do whenever I'm reading a book from an author I don't know. And it's actually really interesting. She's actually most known for the YA lesbian novel Annie on My Mind, which was published in the early 80s and was very influential on, you know, young lesbian readers and writers and stuff. And I had no idea. I think I'd heard of Annie on My Mind, but I've never read it. I mean, I certainly didn't connect the name with this, you know, with that book, so I just thought that was really interesting, and, you know, this is why I always look up authors, because you never know what you'll find, so I definitely want to read that at some point. I mean, I'm not super impressed based on this, but this is a very different kind of book to Annie on My Mind, so I'm sure it'll feel totally different. So yeah, I might check that out at some point. This, though, was just okay. That cover art's pretty awesome, though, isn't it? He's got to be stopped before the next full moon. I miss covers like this, man. You know, whatever. And finally, I mentioned this in my one of my previous videos. I finally finished this, A Natural History of Ghosts, 500 Years of Hunting for Proof by Roger Clarke. This is a British novel, or British nonfiction book, about, you know, sort of the history of ghosts and then why we tell ghost stories and sort of what proof there is for ghosts. Again, I mentioned it before, but I've always been fascinated by ghosts. I love ghost stories, and I'm just fascinated by them. I don't believe in ghosts at all, but I am interested in kind of the history of ghosts and ghost hunting and sort of what evidence is out there. You know, it's just I just find the myth of the ghost story just very, very interesting. Something I could read about a lot. And again, this was just okay. Like, it was decently written. It had a lot of really good overviews of different sort of periods of ghost history. So, like, it talks about, you know, the spiritualist movement in Victorian England. It talks about some famous hauntings, like the Tedworth Drummer, a bunch of other, like, sort of famous English hauntings and stuff like that. But it felt very kind of, like, generalized, and at the same time, like, there wasn't really any kind of, like, unifying theme. Like, the chapters are kind of built around, like, themes, but they're sort of, like, scattershot. They're not, like, arranged, like, chronologically or thematically or anything. So, in practice, the book kind of just reads as, like, kind of a jumbled mess of thoughts. and it doesn't really go out of its way to kind of really make a point about anything other than just kind of like, hey, this is interesting, you know, here's stuff about ghosts, which is okay. You know, it was a decent read, but I didn't really come away feeling like I had really, like, learned a whole lot that I didn't already know. Granted, a lot of the individual stories in here and some of the, like, historical anecdotes are really interesting. Like, he talks about some of the famous mediums, you know, like the Fox sisters and stuff. There was this one guy that he mentioned. What was his name? Daniel Douglas Home. He was this very flamboyant, I believe he was Scottish, spiritualist. And he talks a lot about his life in the book and his career as sort of a medium, a spiritualist, and implies that he might have been gay. And he was very interesting. I'd never heard of him before. So there's little things like that that are really interesting. And if you like ghosts, you might find this interesting. But if you're really into kind of like ghost history, this kind of like doesn't really shed any new light on anything, I don't think. They're talking about the hunting for proof is a little bit... I mean, I guess in general, like, that's what ghost hunters did, but it doesn't really go out of its way to, like, present any convincing arguments about the existence of ghosts. There's a few theories kind of thrown out here and there, but it doesn't really tackle any of them for any extended period of time, and it just feels a bit sort of a surface level. The whole book kind of feels like that, to be honest. It feels like a very surface level exploration of sort of like ghost history. But if this is kind of your first introduction into kind of like the history of like ghost stories and ghost hunting, like it can be interesting. There's some interesting moments, and one of the things that I actually really enjoyed is that there's a further reading section at the back where it recommends tons of other books about ghosts and ghost history. So I took pictures of those, so I'm definitely going to check out some of those books. There's one by Peter Ackroyd that sounds really interesting. But yeah, again, it was just okay, and that's kind of the through line of all these books I've been reading lately. Everything just feels okay. I haven't really been reading anything that's been like knocking me out of my socks, and I just haven't really had the compulsion to read lately, and I feel really bad about that, because, you know, this channel is all about books, and I love reading, but, you know, we all have slumps, right? So I guess it's just something I just have to work through. Try not to force at things too much. On the subject of ghosts, I have been sort of replacing a lot of my reading time with TV and video games. In regards to TV, I watched Mike Flanagan's Haunting of Hill House show, which I'd heard a lot of good things about but never seen. And of course, you know, since I've been in like ghost mode lately, I was in the mood for it, so I watched the whole thing over like 3 nights. And yeah, I really, really liked it. It's very, very different from the source material of Haunting of Hill House, but it contains a lot of the same themes and characters and ideas that Shirley Jackson wrote about in her book, so it's more of a spiritual adaptation, but I thought it was really, really well done, really good, really spooky. I didn't like the ending so much. I thought it was a little sappy, but that's just me. I don't think that really fit with the whole Shirley Jackson ethos. Again, just my opinion. But I've seen a bunch of Mike Flanagan's films before. I really like him. I think he's a really talented filmmaker, great with atmosphere and tension. Some really scary moments in that. The scene in the basement, if you guys have seen it, you probably know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I won't tell anymore. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. And I wanted to watch the second season, Haunting of Bly Manor, which is based on Henry James, the writings of Henry James, primarily Turn of the Screw, obviously. But it's also based on, or it takes inspiration from a bunch of other random kind of ghost-related or semi-related short stories of his. So I wanted to actually read those before I watched the second season of that. So I got a bunch of Henry James stuff from the library, and I've been trying to work my way through it. But he's a very dense writer. He's very difficult, but it's interesting. So trying to get my way through that. So that's kind of what I've been up to. Sorry if this was even more rambly and unfocused than usual, but it is what it is. I hope you guys enjoyed. I will try to post more often. Aaron and I want to do another live stream where we finish our playthrough of Symphony of the Night, so look out for that. I don't know when I'm going to announce that, but I'll announce it on my channel when we do. So, yeah, until then, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.